Hello, I'm Dick White, Mayor and City Councilor. Welcome to Council Connection, a Durango City Span 10 program which gives you a snapshot of happenings at the most recent Durango City Council meeting. In this program, we look at the March 18th meeting. The big item for this meeting, which began 1 hour earlier than normal, was a public hearing on the revised Land Use and Development Code, or LUDC. This document regulates use of property and standards for site and building development. The process of updating the code has been underway for more than 4 years, with this public hearing and vote beginning to bring closure to the process. Senior Planner Vicki Vandegrift introduced the staff report and then yielded the podium to consultant Brett Keast, whose firm drafted the bulk of the text of the code. Mr. Keast had articulated the philosophy of the code in an earlier meeting, so he limited his remarks to providing an outline of the contents. Ms. Vandegrift then reviewed the modest changes that staff made in response to comments made at the public hearing before the Planning Commission in January. She then noted the public confusion and resulting opposition that has arisen around specifics of the draft code governing vacation rentals. The staff response was a recommendation for the City Council to defer consideration of that section to allow additional public input and review, but to approve the rest of the code, apart from the section on accessory dwelling units, for which the public hearing and City Council vote took place in October. The City Council then voted unanimously to remove the vacation rental section from the code under consideration, although the ensuing public hearing did provide an opportunity for members of the public to offer comments. Here's just a bit of the comment from those in attendance.
Thank you for making this motion and passing it so that we can have an independent discussion on the vacation rentals. I appreciate that, but you did take all the wind out of my sails, so I'll be very brief this evening.
There are folks who live downtown as their only residence. They don't have a second home or anything like that. And I think the density issue is one that you really have to carefully consider.
I'm a single mother, professionally employed, and I rent downtown. Please don't assume that the rental market is just college students. Those of us like me, young professionals with families, really are starting to feel like we're being driven out for vacationers. The changes you're proposing regarding short-term vacation rental properties affect me directly. As it stands, due to high rental prices, I already struggle to find suitable, affordable location for my daughter and me to live that's in close proximity to both my work and her school, which are essential for my work schedule, her school schedule, and of course my budget, which is the biggest problem.
I don't make enough money to purchase and live downtown. I don't think it's my right to be able to purchase and live downtown because I could be working as an electrical engineer, and I chose to give that up to work as a professional mountain bike racer, which I love, and this community is the best community you're going to find for that. So a way of trying to make it work and get everything is to purchase downtown with the ability to do vacation rental.
After the close of the public hearing, there was a brief council discussion. Councilor Christina Rinderly reported 2 conflicting surveys of rental vacancy rates. One reported more than 2% vacancies, the other less than 1%. She noted that the larger issue here is construction of more high-density and multifamily housing as Durango continues to attract new residents. I noted that there exist unlicensed vacation rentals that will be easier to identify under the proposed regulations. What would happen if owners of these units seek to obtain licenses but fail to meet the separation criteria in the existing or proposed vacation rental regulations? The answer from staff, strongly reinforced by several council members, is that they would be treated as new applicants and prohibited by the separation requirement. Following the staff recommendation, the City Council then voted unanimously to accept the Land Use and Development Code as presented, apart from the vacation rental section. The final steps for approval and implementation of the LUDC include additional public meetings about vacation rentals, followed by a final public hearing and City Council approval, preparation of the enacting ordinance by the City Attorney and approval of the City Council, preparation by staff of supporting documentation for use by property owners in preparing development applications, as well as education sessions for development professionals. And finally, staff preparation and public and council review of the enforcement procedures that will govern accessory dwelling units. Staff now estimates that the effective date of the revised code will be early to mid-summer. The rest of the agenda included 2 proclamations. The first declared the week of March 23rd through 29th as Boys and Girls Club Week. Pat Barrett, board member of the Boys and Girls Club of Durango, accepted the proclamation and also introduced a staff member and club members. The second declared April 1st as National Service Recognition Day, highlighting the contributions of AmeriCorps and Senior Corps. Emily Wolf, leader of the Western Hard Rock Watershed OSM Vista team, accepted the proclamation and spoke briefly. The next item was the consent agenda, which allows City Council by a single motion to approve matters that are considered routine or non-controversial. There were 12 items on the consent agenda. Most of those were final approval of annexations of open space, topics of 2 prior council meetings. There were 2 significant items, however, concerning the Durango-La Plata County Airport. As you may know, our airport has seen double-digit growth for several years. Planning is now underway for a possible new terminal and aircraft support facilities to meet future demand, projects that are still years away. The 2 items which were approved were to accept and appropriate just over $1 million to revise the airport master plan, which will be key for the airport's future development. During council reports and actions, Mayor Pro Tem Sweetie Marbury, liaison to the Library Advisory Board, noted that the library will be closed on April 1st and that there's a new coffee concession now serving library patrons. Mayor Pro Tem Marbury, speaking as liaison to the Multimodal Advisory Board, reported that transit ridership is up, that new bike racks are being installed downtown, and that there are downtown parking spaces now reserved for motorcycles and identified with a distinct paint color on the curb. As liaison to the Economic Development Alliance Board, Councilor Christina Rinderly proudly announced that 2 more local companies, Fast Track Communications and Swan Wealth Advisors, have been nominated for the Colorado Companies to Watch Awards. I noted the film showings of the Community Cinema series on the 3rd Wednesdays of the month, the next for April 16th, featuring Medora. It's a film about down but not out Medora Hornets varsity basketball team who struggles to compete parallel the town of Medora's own struggles to survive. The agenda included 1 legislative and 2 quasi-judicial public hearings. No member of the public spoke at any of them. The legislative hearing sought public input on a proposed change to city code regarding outside public displays on city property. Kathy Metz, Director of Parks and Recreation, indicated that the regulations would authorize such displays if they are associated with local events and sponsors obtain a permit. Mayor Pro Tem Marbury asked for examples, and Ms. Metz gave 2 examples.
We had a request from an individual that wanted to place ribbons on a tree to commemorate an event that they would like to have along the Animas River Trail for people with mental disability. And a good example of something that occurred fairly recently happened on Chapman Hill, where we had a group of citizens from Bayfield, a church in Bayfield, and requested that we place a number of crosses, white crosses, on the ski hill. And they were installed. We did issue a permit, and then they were vandalized and removed by an unknown party. And so that wasn't associated with any kind of an event. It was just a public statement about hunger.
I asked whether there were any criteria that would apply to approving such permits, particularly around constitutional issues such as religious symbols. Ms. Metz replied that the city's sign code already addresses holiday displays. I suggested that the city attorney review these issues as he prepares the enacting ordinance. In this context, City Manager Ron LeBlanc noted that the Durango Herald reporter had left the meeting during the recess, limiting public awareness of the council discussion of the issue. The next public hearing dealt with annexation of a large area of mostly city-owned property that makes up the Horse Gulch Raider Ridge area. Because one parcel is partly owned by La Plata County, the annexation process required an additional step compared to those that were approved on the consent agenda. A final annexation in the series, the Oxbow Park and Preserve, has been delayed by the need for a new survey of the property. Staff expects to bring this item at the next City Council meeting. If the annexation proceeds as smoothly as the others, the process will finally come to completion on May 21st. The final public hearing concerned granting of a small easement on city property to Ecosphere Environmental Consulting to allow construction of a fire escape as part of their addition to a 3rd floor at 742 East 2nd Avenue. Last on the agenda was introduction of an ordinance on a fairly routine piece of business, abandonment of a no longer needed utility easement crossing the property of the Holiday Inn and Suites on Highway 160 West. During the meeting, councilors also mentioned several events that you might find interesting. Among these, Tuesday, April 1st, the Durango Public Library is closed. On Thursday, April 17th, the River Access Design Meeting at the Recreation Center at 5 p.m. On Thursday, May 1st, the Oxbow Park and Preserve on-site design meeting at 5 p.m. Monday, May 5th, the 33rd Street on-site design meeting at 5 p.m. Wednesday, May 7th, the 29th Street on-site design meeting at 5 p.m. Thursday, May 8th, the Santa Rita Park on-site design meeting at 5 p.m. And finally, on May 9th, a rain date for the River Access design meetings at 5 p.m. if any of the others are canceled. That's Council Connection for the March 18th Durango City Council meeting. I'm City Councilor and Mayor Dick White. Thanks for joining us, and remember, you can always contact your City Councilor at this email address, citycouncil@durangogov.org.